Okay, so a few wrap-up questions. What do you think led you on this path? Why are you so passionate about video games and interactive media?
So why? Well, it's funny you use the word passionate, because what led me on this path was this feeling of apathy and lack of passion that I had in college. So in college I was frustrated to an unending degree of seeing other people in college who knew what they wanted to do and were following it with such zeal and passion that I was like, oh, well, like, I guess, I don't know, maybe I can do modeling, or, oh, maybe I could do illustration, or maybe, I don't know, I'm not a good coder. So, like, I was like that the whole freaking time in college. And that was, one day I learned, like, use that as your fuel for passion. Like, your passion is
Finding your
passion, right? My passion was this feeling of anxiety and frustration with not having a passion. And so after college, when I got out of that, it kind of just continued until I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, I'm just gonna go for it. Because I'm frustrated with myself, so I want to make myself competent in these skills. And you know, it took me a really long time to kind of get code, and it still is. I'm not a great coder by any means, but it took until that Unity course for it to finally like sink in. And I had multiple people teach me it over the course of the years since college, and each time it layered a little bit differently. But yeah, like my passion, I finally kind of, I guess I can say it. I kind of have a passion now. And that passion also happens to be kind of learning and gaining new knowledge. And I'll tell you, the first time I ever kind of discovered one of my passions, or the first nugget of discovering this passion, was actually my first global game jam in 2011. And in that experience, while I wasn't really doing a lot of like modeling, I did a little bit of modeling and I was okay at it, and a little bit of 2D art. What I noticed I found myself doing was going back and forth between the coders and the designers and the artists. And I was like, scrolling rolling my chair and like doing this and doing that. And like, I was like, okay, you need to do this. I'm handling this over here. And it was like that, what could be considered like project manager role, right? Or the producer role, that I kind of found my niche. And to this day, it's kind of something that I kind of fall into naturally. I am not the best artist and I'm not the best coder, but I can get a team to work together. And I can kind of clearly list out like what our actionable goals are for a day, and for the month and for the week, and using like, Trello and Slack to like get all of that, whip all of that together. Because like I have a vision or whatever, and I want to execute it and get other people's input on it. So working on that first global game jam kind of showed me, hey, you know what? You're okay at organization and like, working with teams. Pursue that a little bit more. And so that's kind of what I did at my other jobs, like at Apple, like, leading teams and things like that. And simultaneously I was taking the Unity course. And so when I got out of the Unity course, I talked to Jose. I was like, Jose, let's just do something. Let's get each other's contact information and let's just work together and see what we can produce. So that's kind of how I found my passion, was finding my frustration.
I like that.
And turning it into a passion. And then dabbling, right? Like trying experience. If I didn't go to the global game jam, if I was too afraid to go to the global game jam, I wouldn't have found out like one of my strengths. And that's what I love about game jams in general, global or not, right? Is just go to these things. And I knew a lot of like people in college, like they were timid, they didn't want to go to these. You just go. I was one of them. And force yourself to try new things. The Unity course did that. I was scared to code, but I forced myself to do it, and to finally concentrate on it. And it's, a lot of the stuff isn't as scary once you break it down into logical steps. And by forcing yourself to go to these jams and being like, oh, I don't know, I'm not that good at Photoshop or whatever the skill is, if you're doing Photoshop for 48 straight hours, or whatever it is, you're gonna pick up on some subtleties of it, and you may notice you may have a knack for it. Maybe you don't. Maybe you discover you hate the program.
Right.
Fine. Next game jam, try coding, try Unity, try 3D models, whatever. And eventually something will stick. Maybe you're bad at all of it, but you're good at, networking, people, talking, whatever, organizing. Something will stick eventually.
All right, so to sum up, you're saying just feel free to experiment.
Experimentation, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the best things about going to formal education like college is it forces you to experiment, right? Critical thinking, putting you in groups or social circles that you normally wouldn't be around, and that like anything in game design is like when you give yourself these constraints, that's when creativity flows. So you have to put yourself into these constrained situations where you can adapt and discover an aspect of yourself that you didn't know existed.